Could the Pittsburgh Steelers send head coach Mike Tomlin to the nation's capital via a trade this offseason? I'm going to let you guys know the latest Mike Tomlin trade rumors on today's edition of Steelers Talk. Then also, we're going to be discussing about the possibility of potentially trading for Sam Howell and hiring Eric Bieniemy as the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we're going to be debating here. We're going to hash it out. Who's better, Kenny Pickett or Justin Fields? We'll be comparing their stats and their skill sets at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys stick around. But before we get into today's loaded edition of Steelers Talk, do me a favor, join our family, click that subscribe button right now, because when the Steelers make big moves this offseason, when they hire a new offensive coordinator, if they trade Mike Tomlin, if they get a new quarterback, we're going to have you covered with breaking news coverage every time the Steelers make a move. Also, we're going to have NFL free agency and NFL draft coverage for you guys, in depth, breaking down who the Steelers are targeting for you guys just about every single day here on the channel. And then we got 2 weekly live shows. We got one on Wednesdays and then one for the watch parties for every single Steelers game. We got the largest watch parties on YouTube. And oh yeah, it's all 100% free. So if you want to join the most comprehensive Steelers community here on YouTube, 100% free of charge, click that subscribe button right now. So could Mike Tomlin be on his way to Washington? Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, who is known around the league as the person or the reporter that is closest to Mike Tomlin, suggests that the Washington Commanders should give the Steelers a call regarding Mike Tomlin's availability to see if they can land him via trade. This is what Jay Glazer had to say about Tomlin's availability. I'm telling you, if Mike Tomlin was available, teams would be lining up. Even if he's not available yet, teams should be calling to try to trade for Mike Tomlin. Hey, Washington, he's from Virginia. Perfect. I'm at least giving it a shot. I'm trying for it. You got to swing away for a guy like that if he's on the hot seat. Now, personally, I respect Jay, and there's a reason why he's singled out Washington there, but I seriously doubt that this happens. In our Mike Tomlin's replacement video earlier this week, I already laid out why it's unlikely that the Steelers will actually fire or part ways with Mike Tomlin. I just think it makes more sense to keep him, pair him with a new offensive coordinator, and see where things go into the future, because this Steelers roster is still ready to win now, and if you get a new head coach, you essentially have to start over, and you're essentially wasting another year of T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward's prime here, whereas if you keep Mike Tomlin and you get the right OC, you could be back in business as soon as next year. Now the kind of compensation that's being thrown around right now for Mike Tomlin is 2 second-round draft picks in exchange for Tomlin's services. I see guys like Andrew Filipponi throw out, the Commanders are going to give up a first-round draft pick for him. That's just not going to happen, okay? The Commanders have a top 5 draft pick as it stands right now. I just think that there's no way in hell the Commanders give up that high of a draft pick for a head coach. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you accept this trade if you are the Steelers GM, Omar Khan, and owner Art Rooney? Type A for accept or D for decline. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So when you get a second here, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Now, if they decide to part ways with Mike Tomlin, I really don't think that that's going to be the case. Somebody that could be in line to be head coach is Eric Bieniemy, but even if they keep Mike Tomlin here, I think Bieniemy should be at the top of the Steelers list in terms of potential offensive coordinator candidates here for the 2024 season. I am a big fan of Eric Bieniemy and his offense. I think he's got that hard-nosed approach to coaching that Mike Tomlin really does appreciate here. It really does fit the Pittsburgh Steelers culture here of kind of old school coaching, get on guys' asses, hold people accountable, all these different things. It's also that unlikely that Bieniemy is going to be hired as the Washington Commanders head coach after they fire Ron Rivera this year. I think that if they believed in Eric Bieniemy and they wanted him to be their head coach, they would have already fired Rivera and they would be trying out Eric Bieniemy over these last several weeks to see if he has it. But because they're not giving him that opportunity, it seems likely that Bieniemy will be a free agent. And I don't think he's going to go back to Kansas City because right now they have Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator, and I don't really see Nagy getting any sort of head coaching jobs or anything like that will take him out of that position. So I don't think Kansas City in a return to to coach Patrick Mahomes is really in the cards for Bieniemy either. Now, what does the Eric Bieniemy offense kind of look like? So there's some core tenets here based on everything that I've seen on film from the Washington Commanders offense this year, and then also watching the Chiefs in years past. Number one is that it's very shotgun heavy. They don't really go under center a whole lot. They like to do RPOs. They like to do all these different things from shotgun. So if you watch the Chiefs, you watch the Commanders, you watch these Andy Reid style offenses, most of the time they are in shotgun, so keep that in mind. Also, lots of 4-by-1 formations. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean 4 eligible receivers to one side of the formation. So usually two wide receivers, a tight end, and maybe a running back, all on one side of the field, and then you'll have one singular receiver on one other side of the field. So this is something that's relatively new. It's a modern concept in the National Football League, and really Eric Bieniemy was at the forefront of that when the Kansas City Chiefs started to do it just a couple of seasons ago. It really messes with the coverage rules of modern NFL defenses, and it's something that's definitely garnered a lot of success with Eric Bieniemy as an offensive play caller. Another thing that I really like about this offense is that it's tight end friendly, and I really like Pat Freiermuth as a receiving tight end. I think Freiermuth in an Eric Bieniemy offense would be absolutely stellar. Now, he's no Travis Kelce, right? But I definitely think that Freiermuth can be is definitely good enough as a receiver to play the Travis Kelce role in Eric Bieniemy's offense. Right now in Washington, haven't really been able to do a lot of the fun tight end stuff because they don't really have a good receiving tight end. But if Bieniemy comes to Pittsburgh and matches up with Pat Freiermuth, I think they could have a lot of fun in terms of the concepts that they could run here. Also, it's a progression-style passing attack on offense. So the quarterback from shotgun is expected to go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way across the field. So you need a quarterback to run this system that can process information quickly and get through a full field progression read. It's not necessarily easy mentally on the quarterback, at least post-snap. And then finally, short passes are really the thing that they like to do to set up those big gains. If you look at Patrick Mahomes in his MVP season going back to 2022, Pat Mahomes was, the average air yards per attempt was among the lowest in the National Football League, yet he was tops in the league in yards per game. How could that happen? That means that they're scheming things open close to the line of scrimmage for guys to get yards after the catch. So Eric Bieniemy really, really good at creating opportunities for guys in space. And now coming up here, I'm going to be talking about his current quarterback in Washington. And if you get Eric Bieniemy as the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, could it make sense to bring in Sam Howell to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm going to discuss that possibility here in just 1 second. But first, I want to have a word from our sponsor here at Factor Meals. This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor Meals, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all of your holiday to-dos. This holiday season, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered straight to your door. And what I love about Factor is that they're ready in just 2 minutes with no prep, no mess. You don't have to worry about doing dishes at the end of the day, which is definitely awesome. Head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50 to get 50% off Factor Meals today. That's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 to get 50% off Factor Meals this holiday season. So now let's talk a little bit about Sam Howell here, somebody that I've really been impressed with this season for the Washington Commanders. And if the Steelers decide to bring in Eric Bieniemy, I definitely think that Sam Howell could be an interesting option for the Steelers to consider, especially if they can get a good deal for him on the trade market. Now, my scouting report on Sam Howell, the pros in his game, he's a really good drop-back passer, man. He can go back there and he can make those full field progressions. He can get through his reads quickly. He's also he's a plus runner. We'll go over his ability as a rusher here in just a second, but he's got really, really good arm strength. He can throw it 60, 70 yards on a dot, and he's also got some really great arc on his deep ball, and the accuracy on those deep passes is excellent. Now the cons to his game, the mental clock issues here. He holds on to the ball for maybe a little bit too long. The decision making, he can get a little bit too aggressive at times. You can see that with the 14 interception number there. And then the footwork can get sloppy at times. He's still developing, but I do think he's a decent NFL starter right now with the potential to be a franchise quarterback in this league for years to come. His stats this year, 65.8% completions, 18 touchdowns. He's throwing the ball when defenses know that he has to throw, and that's something that Kenny Pickett has not been able to do throughout his time in the National Football League. I think Howell's got a ton of experience, still developing a bit, but I definitely think that he's exciting. And then another exciting part about his game is not just his ability as a passer, but also as a rusher. As we stand here today, when it comes to the quarterback position, Sam Howell is currently the most valuable rusher of the football at the quarterback position of any quarterback in the National Football League with 23.2 points above replacement. I think that this kid's rushing ability gets severely underrated. He's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league right now. If the Steelers get him, not only do you get a guy that can bomb the ball down the field, but somebody that's an athlete and can pick up yards and points with his legs. I like to compare his skill set to somebody like Jalen Hurts. They're pretty much exactly the same height and weight. They both have great deep balls, great arc on their deep balls. They both had issues coming out of college, but they're starting to develop into legitimate starters. Of course, Hurts is on a different level than Howell right now. Hurts is definitely already there, whereas Howell is still developing. But I could certainly see Howell becoming a Jalen Hurts type player as he continues to develop in this league. You look at the first-year stats of both of these gentlemen, their first year starting, and you can see that Howell is competitive with Jalen Hurts' stats here. A higher completion percentage, more yards per game. He's got 3 less total touchdowns and more interceptions and a lower overall value, points above replacement. But also keep in mind that Howell is behind one of the worst offensive lines in the history of the National Football League and a defense that's constantly forcing him to play from a deficit. So keep that in mind here. I think Howell is at a really impressive first year as a starter, especially with all the adversity that he's facing there in Washington. And right now, I definitely think Sam Howell is a much better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. And you can see that in the stat comparison here just in 2023 between these two quarterbacks. Man, a higher completion percentage. It's not even close. More yards per game. Howell currently ranks 6th in passing yards per game in this league right now. The total touchdowns is a freaking joke. I mean, you look at that, it's almost 3 times. It's over 3 times the amount Kenny Pickett has. But you also look at the interceptions. Howell definitely being over-aggressive at times this year, has way more interceptions. And then the overall points above replacement here. Kenny Pickett's, that's not the correct number there. Kenny Pickett's is actually 4, all right? It's 4 points above replacement, not 72.5. It's 4. So Sam Howell is way, way, way more valuable than Kenny Pickett. Sorry for the mix-up on the graphic right there. So in order to get Sam Howell this year, I think that what it's going to take is the Commanders need to want to move off of him. I think they're going to want to have to get a quarterback in the first round. And if that's the case, then you have leverage to potentially get this guy for just a third-round pick. You're looking at potentially getting a franchise quarterback here with a guy like Eric Bieniemy as his offensive coordinator for just a third-round pick. So I'm not necessarily saying the Steelers have to do this or that they should do this. I just think it's an interesting possibility to think about here because I'm really impressed with Sam Howell, and I think he's got the Pittsburgh kind of mentality that you look for here, and I definitely think he'd be something really nice here in Pittsburgh. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon for me real quick here before we get to the end of today's show. We still got one more thing to discuss here, and while we're talking about potential Kenny Pickett replacements, let's talk about Justin Fields, because what I'm seeing a lot on Steelers Twitter right now is that Justin Fields is nowhere close to where Kenny Pickett is as a quarterback right now, and I look at the numbers between these two quarterbacks, and I just don't understand how people can actually come to that conclusion. Right now, Justin Fields has a higher completion percentage than Kenny Pickett, even though he's throwing the ball, air yards per attempt, almost a yard more than Pickett per attempt. Okay, so that's kind of crazy that Justin Fields is throwing the ball down the field more than Pickett, yet he still has a higher completion percentage. The total touchdowns is more than double in less games played this year. The interceptions is a little bit higher, but Kenny Pickett is actually doing a really, really good job in that category. And here we go. We got that points above replacement number correct this time. Kenny Pickett is only worth 4 points this season, whereas Justin Fields has been worth 15. Okay, so and then you look at the rushing ability. This year, it hasn't been quite as good for Justin Fields, but last year, you just look at last year, when it comes to rushing the football, there was no player, not even a running back in the National Football League that was worth more as a rusher than Justin Fields. Last year and last year alone, he was worth 47.9, almost 48 points above replacement last year. That's more than Josh Jacobs. That's more than any running back that you can name. Justin Fields is an elite rusher of the football, and if you can put that type of number up year in and year out, you're looking at a seriously dynamic threat to your offense that could completely change the fortunes of your franchise. So we've talked about Kenny Pickett, we've talked about Sam Howell, and we've talked about Justin Fields. Which one is the best quarterback overall? Is it Kenny Pickett? Type KP. If you think it's Sam Howell, type SH. Or if you think Justin Fields is the best of the three, type JF down there in the comments section. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate every single one of you guys, all the real ones that made it to the end of today's show. Make sure you click that subscribe button for more in-depth Steelers coverage throughout the 2023 season and throughout the 2024 offseason.